librarian here at the Research Medical Library, and what we're going to be covering today is PubMed in 30 minutes. And so this webinar is aimed at more novice users of PubMed, or those who want to refresh or review PubMed. What we're going to be covering today is what exactly is in PubMed, and of course accessing PubMed, the best way for you all to do that through MD Anderson. We're of course going to cover searching within PubMed, and perhaps most importantly, getting you all full text articles through PubMed. So to begin with, I just think it's a good idea to make sure that we all kind of have an understanding of what exactly PubMed is when we start searching within PubMed. So PubMed is a database that's put out by the U.S. National Library of Medicine. So what's within PubMed is over 25 million biomedical citations. And so it's citations and not the actual full text articles. That's an important thing to keep in mind when you're searching in PubMed. So when you search PubMed, you're searching the database Medline plus additional journals and online books. I don't know if anyone here has heard of Medline before. It's available through a number of different platforms, including PubMed. So that's going to beg the question, what exactly is Medline then? Like I said, Medline is a database, and so it's kind of a database within the database of PubMed that contains citations and abstracts related to the areas that I have listed on this slide right here. So one of the most important things about Medline is that it's organized by something called MESH, and MESH stands for Medical Subject Headings. So basically, medical subject headings are a controlled vocabulary that Medline has, and a human indexer basically reads every article that has a citation inside Medline. This indexer then decides, what are the most important topics or main subject areas covered in this article, and essentially tags this article with these MESH terms. So what you can do now is you can tell PubMed that you want to search using only these MESH terms. So for example, induction chemotherapy is a MESH term. So if I told PubMed I wanted to search for induction chemotherapy as a MESH term, it would only return results that a human indexer has tagged with induction chemotherapy, versus if I just searched induction chemotherapy by just typing it into the search box, it would just do a keyword search and return every result that has induction chemotherapy mentioned in it. So it's a way to do a more specialized search within PubMed. You just have to keep in mind, if you do search PubMed using MESH terms, it's only going to return Medline records, and so you may miss out on a few other things in PubMed. So that's a little bit of a confusing concept, I realize, and I don't really cover MESH too much besides this in this webinar. You can always email me afterwards if you have more questions. But just to kind of give you a visual as to what makes up PubMed. So 90% of PubMed is made up of the database Medline. So these are those citations that have those MESH terms attached to them. 8% of PubMed is other. So this would refer to records for online books and chapters, as well as out-of-scope articles. And what I mean by out-of-scope articles is articles that don't necessarily fall within the biomedical research scope of articles. So there might be an article from Nature, for example, that's included in PubMed, but that would be thought of as an out-of-scope article. 2% of PubMed is also made up of what's called in-process citations. And so these are just citations that are in the process of being read by a human indexer, but don't actually have the MESH terms attached to them yet. Okay, so moving on to accessing PubMed. So PubMed is freely available for everyone to use. Anyone can type in pubmed.gov into your browser and start looking for results and returning results. Where PubMed is not so free is when you're trying to get the full text of articles. And so PubMed does include some free full text for everybody to have, and this subset of PubMed is called PubMed Central. But if you access PubMed through our library, what it does is it then connects you to all of our database subscriptions and all of our journal subscriptions. And what this does is that it allows you to get many more full text articles that way for free because you're accessing it through our library's subscriptions. So keeping that in mind, whenever you access PubMed, you want to access it from our library website because that's the only way that you'll then connect to our library subscriptions and allow you to get many more full text articles. And so this is our library address. It's just mdanderson.org/library. And if you don't already have our address bookmarked on your favorite browser on your work computer, I really suggest that you do that. And so at this point, I'm going to change my presentation over to live. So let me do that really quick. And I see really quick that in chat, Betty, you're asking if you can get a PDF of the slides. Yes, I will definitely send out a PDF of the slides to you all. So let me get my screen shared. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start showing you all how to use PubMed from our website. So if you are on MD Anderson campus, meaning if you are in a MD Anderson building, all you have to do is go to our website and then you can start searching PubMed or any other database like you need to. If you're accessing PubMed from off campus, meaning outside of an MD Anderson building, so for example, if you were wanting to access PubMed or any of our other library resources from home, you just have to take one extra step. So you just need to press this off-campus login right here. And so you can see that it's actually already pre-filled in with all of my login information, and you're just logging in using your My ID. And so that's just your usual login information that you need to put into your MD Anderson computer or your MD Anderson email. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it now, even though I technically don't need to because I'm in the library. And so once you do that, it's going to tell you that your login is successful. Then you can just click home right here. Now logged in, and so I can now start searching PubMed. So PubMed has its own search tab in our main search area right here. And so I can select this tab, and I can either go ahead and start typing in my search right here into this search box, or I can hit this PubMed that's hyperlinked, and it'll open up into the PubMed homepage. And I know that I'm logged in through the library because you can see that it says mdanderson.org as part of the web address right here. Okay, so the first way that I wanted to go over searching in PubMed is when you have a known citation, meaning you have citation information about an article and you just want to try to get the full text of the article in PubMed. So I'm going to go ahead and type in a title of an article. So let me grab that. So my article title is Recent Trends in Prevention, let me move that, of oral cancer. And so this is the title of my article. I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And what's really nice here is you can see in this light blue box, it's went ahead and citation matched my article title. And so it's asking me, oh, is this the article that you're looking for? And it is the article I'm looking for, so that's really nice. Something else you'll notice, though, is if you take a look down at my search results, this article that I'm looking for is actually not my top result. It doesn't even look like it's in my top 4 results, but it is number 5 showing up right here. So you may be wondering, why is this happening? And the reason that this is happening is because the default way that PubMed sorts your results is that it sorts it by most relevant. And so you can see right here, or I'm sorry, most recent. And so you can see that it's sorting it by most recently published. If you hit this triangle next to it, you can actually see you have a few other options as to how you can sort your results, including relevance. And so this might be more helpful to you. I'm going to go ahead and select relevance. And once I do that, you can see that the article that I was looking for now rises to the top of my results page. So I'm going to put in another example, an article right here. And even when it's sorting by relevance, you can see that it's not in my top 5 results. When this happens, what I suggest that you do is you can throw in the first author's name if you have that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So the first author's name is Shiozawa, and the first initial of his first name is K. And I'm going to hit search. And so you can see that when I was just throwing in the title, it was giving me that long list of results where my article I was looking for was not rising to the top. But once I threw in the first author's name, and you can see his name right here, it did find that particular article that I was looking for and took me straight to it, which is really nice. Okay, so since we're already on the individual citations record right here, let's go ahead and take a look at what we have. And so you have, of course, all of the citation information about the article, so journal information, title, all of the authors. These authors are all hyperlinked, and so if you were to select any of the authors' names, it would take you to a page that has all of the authors' documents within PubMed. Okay, I'm going to go back though. And you can see right here, there will usually be additional author information. And in this case, it's the contact information for the first author right here. So you're going to have your abstract, and you're going to have something you can see down here that says PMID. And a PubMed ID number is just a unique number to this particular article. So what you could do is if you had the PMID of an article, I'm going to go ahead and copy it right here. And I'm going to go back to my library homepage just to show you all that if you had the PMID of an article, you could just type in that number and hit search, and it would take you directly to that article's page. And so if you had the PMID, you wouldn't have to type in the title of an article. You could just type in that number. You'll also see that for this particular article, there's a PMC ID. And the reason it also has a PMC ID is because this is an article that's in PubMed Central. So if you remember, I said earlier that PubMed Central articles are just free for everyone to access. And so if it is in PubMed Central, it'll also have a unique PMC ID. You can throw in either of these numbers to get to this article. Okay, moving on, you'll also find images from this particular article, shortcut right here. And you'll also see a publication types, mesh terms, and grant support area, where if you hit these arrows right here, you can see all the specifics about the research support information as well as the grant support information. And you can see all of the mesh terms affiliated with this particular article. So if you remember, I said that articles are sometimes tagged with mesh terms, and these are terms that describe the article. And so if I actually hit any of these mesh terms, such as this one right here, I would be taken to, I'm going to hit search in PubMed. I would be taken to all other articles that have been tagged with this particular mesh term. Okay, so I'm going to go back again. So other information you have on this page is you can also see your recent activity right here. And so it's going to log your recent activity for your browser session. So if you, forget how you got to a certain article that you clicked past, 10 minutes ago, you can always go back here. You can also see who has cited this particular article in PubMed Central, and there's links to those articles. You can also find similar articles, and so this is helpful for if you find one really good article and want to find other articles that are similar to it, go ahead and take a look right here. But this is probably your most important area on the page, and this is how you're going to find the full text of an article. So you'll notice that you have a number of buttons up here, and so that's a little confusing, right? Which button do you press to get the full text of an article? And the button that you always want to select is the MD Anderson full text article button. So this button will only show up if you log in from our library website, and the reason is because this is what's going to connect you to our library subscriptions to try to find the full text for you. This other button right here, it's a publisher button, and so sometimes you'll find a button from the publisher, and if you select that, they'll often ask you to pay for an article. You shouldn't have to pay for an article. I'll give you more information about that in a minute. And so if I select this button right here, so you can see right here, it's pulling up the full text of the article that we were looking for. And so if I was at home on my home computer or my office computer, what I would do is I would download the PDF of this article and then save it to my computer. That way I now have this article for however long that I need. Okay, so that was great because that was an article that we did have the full text of through the library, but I wanted to show you all what would you do if we didn't have the full text of a particular article. And so I'm going to type in the PMID for an article for my example. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit search. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the MD Anderson full text button like I told you that you should do. Okay, so in this instance, I purposely chose an article that we didn't have the full text of through our library subscriptions. And once it loads, here we go. So this is the kind of page that you would see that would tell you, sorry, no electronic or print subscription available. Please request article via ILLiad or locate in other medical libraries. And so what ILLiad is, for those who haven't used this service before, is it's our interlibrary loan service where we find books and articles that we don't have but you need from a different library, and we get it to you. And so this is where you would click to submit your requests for that. And you would just log in with your MyID, which is your ID that you use to log on to all of your MD Anderson related things. And basically you would just check all this pre-filled in information to make sure it's correct about that article you're looking for, and then you would hit submit requests. And typically we get that article for you in an electronic version within 24 to 48 hours. And so this is a service that the library foots the fee for, and it's completely free for you all. And so like I was kind of saying earlier, you should never have to pay for an article. If it's for your MD Anderson work, we can get that article for free for you. Okay, so let me click out on that. And now I'm going to just click on this pubmed.gov right here just to go back to our homepage. And what I wanted to cover next is if you were looking for articles on a research topic that you were doing. And so you're just kind of wanting to find a number of different articles. And so let's say that I was interested in the microbubbles treatment for breast cancer. And so I would just type in my key terms into PubMed, because you don't type in your whole research topic, you know, in a sentence or in a question, you need to pick out your key terms and type them into PubMed. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Breast cancer and microbubbles. And I generally recommend starting really broad for your searches. And so just making sure to hit the basic important keywords in your search. And then once you do that, you can start adding in more keywords to specialize your search if needed. So you can see right here that I have my results page. And so like I was showing you all earlier, it's sorted by relevance right now because I changed that from the default of most recent, but there are a few other options that you can sort by right here. You can also change how your results look. So you can change it to up to 200 per page. Right now it's at 20. And you can also change the summary format. So the summary format is just going to give you the bare bones information about each citation, you know, title, authors, journal. But something that might be useful to you all is you can change it to abstract, actually. And so this way you can see the abstract information as well as the MD Anderson full text button for all of the results. And so sometimes I think this is a little easier when I'm wanting to scroll through my results and I don't want to necessarily open up each citation in a separate, you know, tab up here. And so this kind of gives me a little more quickly the ability to skim through the abstract to see, oh, is this something that would be useful to me or not? I'm going to go ahead and change it back to the summary format though. So let's say that I have my 129 results, and although this really isn't that many results to comb through, let's say that I really wanted to narrow down my number of results. And this is where I would recommend taking advantage of the filters right here. And so there are filters to help you narrow down your search according to article types. And so if I only was looking for systematic reviews, for example, I could select this. And now it's going to automatically sort out only the systematic reviews. And so you could then ask, you know, say, oh, I only want the ones from the past 5 years. And so now it's going to sort out the systematic reviews available from the past 5 years. And so in this case, it's all of these right here. You do need to clear your filters after you use them or they're going to stay in place. And so I can hit clear all. It's going to return me to my 129 results right here. You can hit show additional filters and have other filters show up here on the side of the page. So I'm just going to select language, sex, and ages and hit show. And now you have some additional filter options over here on the side of the page. You do also have some filters right here that are specific to MD Anderson that might be helpful to you all. So there's a filter specifically to filter out any results that have to do with cancer. We do have filters for commonly looked for article types, and so that includes clinical trials, randomized controlled trials, and systematic reviews. If you're only interested in work done by MD Anderson authors, we even have a filter for that. We also do have a filter to filter out journals that do not have an impact factor of 6 or higher, if this is something that's important to you as well. Okay, so I also did want to go over really quickly how you could send the citations that look interesting to you to yourself or save them. And so let's say that these 3 citations right here looked good to me. How could I save them? And so there are some options up here. If you go to send to, you could email them to yourself. Just keep in mind that you're emailing the citation information only, not the actual full text of those citations. And so you could do it that way. You could even change the format so that the abstract is part of that. The other way that I would recommend is you could create a file. And so this would be, you know, a text file that has all that information that you could save to your computer, or you could select collections right here. And so a collection folder is basically a folder that you can then save these citations to, and then you could go back to. Something you do have to keep in mind, though, is if you do want to save citations to a collection, you do have to create an account with PubMed. It just takes a couple minutes. I really recommend doing so. You could also sign in with your Google account, so you wouldn't have to create a new account if you feel comfortable connecting your PubMed. I'll go ahead and mention now is if you're able to, use Chrome or Firefox. Do not use Internet Explorer. PubMed especially doesn't play well with Internet Explorer, even when it's updated to the latest one. Okay, so you can see that I was first in Chrome and it wasn't working correctly. Then I put it in Firefox and now it's working nicely. And so it's asking me if I want to create a new collection or I can add it to any existing collection I have. I'll just create a new collection and just name it today's date and hit save. And now if I go up here to my NCBI, I can see that I have all my collections available right here. And if I go to the one I made today, it's showing up those two I saved. And so that's a really convenient way for you to save citations that may look good to you. There's a few other perks that I think are great with creating an account with PubMed. It logs all of your recent activity for up to 6 months, and you can even save searches. If anyone is interested in learning how to save searches, you can always email me and I'd be happy to help you. Okay, so we're at about 30 minutes now. Let me switch my screen back to my presentation. Just so I can pull up my last slide that I wanted to show you all. And that is my slide with all of our contact information. So you can email us. I have our library email as well as my personal email up there. You can always give us a call. You can even text us if you want. If you log on to our website, we have a chat widget, so you can chat with us during our regular hours, which are Monday through Friday, 7:30 a.m. to